Hands up if you've ever copied the pros in an effort to go faster on your bike. Yes, I'm guilty. From equipment choices to bike fit, too many of us have tried to emulate the pros over the years. But times are changing because now the pros are copying us. In this year's Tour de France, some of the latest and hottest tech trends have been embraced and used by amateur riders, you and I, long before the pros adopted them. I mean, they ditched rim brakes for disc brakes, which many of us have been using for years and years. But that's not the only tech they're copying from us regular cyclists. So in this video, we'll explore the tech trends that have been embraced by us long before the pros have used them, and some of the tech trends that are probably best left in the pro peloton. The latest tech trends playing out in this year's Tour de France are trends that have been popular with many regular cyclists for years. Take disc brakes for an example. They have been adopted by consumers well before the pros got their hands on them. Disc brakes first appeared on CX and endurance bikes before they found their way onto race bikes, which the pros are now using. But disc brakes aren't the only tech that the pros have copied from us. Let's look at tyres. Tyres used to be really narrow in the pro peloton. 19, 21 and 23mm were standard, but outside of the pro peloton, most of us have embraced wide tyres. 25 and 28 and wider are now very popular. In fact, I don't ride anything narrower than a 28mm wide tyre, which I reckon is a default choice for a race bike, and we're seeing this move reflected in the pro peloton. At this year's Tour de France, many riders are indeed on a 28mm wide tyre, and some are even on a 30mm wide tyre. So no longer are we just seeing wide tyres in the pro peloton at races like Paris-Roubaix and Tour of Flanders, where the cobbles demand the bigger tyres for extra comfort, traction and control. We're now seeing wide tyres being used on the smooth, silky roads of the Tour de France. The move to wide tyres has been enabled by the fact that race bikes now offer space for wide tyres. It wasn't so long ago that a top-level race bike like a Super 6 Evo or a Specialized Tarmac would max out at a 25 or 26, but now they go up to 30 and 32, so you can get endurance bike levels of comfort and smoothness, but with the race bike geometry for a winning combination. And for anybody still sitting on the fence about the benefits of wide tyres, well, the fact that pros are now using them must be the final validation you need to make the switch from narrow to wide tyres. And not only are tyres getting wider, they're also ditching the inner tubes. Tubeless is a new frontier of tyre tech as well. More teams than ever before are ditching the old tubs and now going to tubeless and enjoying the benefits they offer. Of course, loads of us, like myself, have been running tubeless for years and years and wondering what all the fuss is about in the pro peloton and why it's taking them so long to ditch the centuries old tubular tyres they have been so wedded to. And away from the Tour de France for a moment, at events like Paris-Roubaix, the pros are going a step further with foam inserts inside a tyre for a run-flat protection. And it is amazing and incredible, in fact, that the tubular tyre has hung on for so long. We've got all the modern advances like electronic gears and hydraulic disc brakes and internal K-routing and aerodynamic frames, but tyres they have been running until very recently have been the same tyres essentially they run for the last 100 years. Away from tyres to gearing choices, and we have seen some interesting changes on this front, and changes that outside of pro peloton have been more widely embraced. One by. We have seen one by in the pro peloton before, not so successfully of course, but this year it's back and it seems to be more successful than ever before. But why on earth are the pros embracing one by? It makes perfect sense on gravel bikes and on road bikes being ridden at normal speeds outside of pro peloton. But in the pro peloton, when they're sprinting on one stage and then going up mountains on the other, doesn't make any sense. Well, there are weight saving benefits, supposed aero claims and their simplicity as well, which seem to be pretty good reasons. But I think the weight saving on bikes that are pretty heavy these days and not that close to the UCI weight limit, that I think is the biggest reason and drive behind his move to one by. We're seeing the current Tour de France leader Jonas Vingegaard on a one by setup, enabling him to use a more aero bike than he would otherwise use on a climbing stage. But the obvious downside with one by, and probably a bigger issue in the pro peloton, is the reduced gear range. But with the move to 12 speed and 13 speed and wide range cassettes, that disadvantage seems to be reduced quite a bit. The other trend that all the pros have copied from us are big cassettes. On all the Shimano equipped bikes, which is pretty much the entire peloton these days, an 1130 cassette is common. It wasn't so long ago that 1123, 1125 was standard. They might have a bigger cassette for a mountainous climbing stage, but these days all the pros are on that 1130 cassette all the time, whether sprinting or climbing. So we covered quite a few tech trends that the pros have borrowed from us, but are there any tech trends in this year's Tour de France that we should be copying? The most obvious one, if you're at all concerned about aero or just want to gain a bit more speed for free, is a narrow handlebar. I've seen quite a few riders and bikes sporting narrow handlebars than ever before. It's a real trend in the pro peloton at the moment. Tadej Pogacar, for example, is on a very narrow 38cm MV one-piece handlebar, and a Trek Madone is a very important bike, and that is designed around a very narrow handlebar. But the other interesting thing about these handlebars is how they're also flared as well. So wider in the drops than they are in the hoods, and this is a trend we first saw on gravel adventure bikes, but now finding its way to the pro peloton for the benefits of aerodynamics. And it does make sense. You have more width and control when descending, where aero matters less, and less width when you're smashing along in a brake tucked low on the hoods. So if you want to go faster for free, well, not free, a narrow flared handlebar seems to be a good move. But there are still some things the pros do that are probably best left to the pros. Aero might be king in the pro peloton these days, but some are still weight obsessed, out and out weight weenies. And that despite there being a minimum weight limit of 6.8 kilos for all race bikes, regardless of frame size, big or small, which makes no sense. But with aerodynamics, disc brakes, electronic gears and wide tyres, some of the bikes are definitely on the heavy side. And so it's no wonder that we see the inner weight weenie coming out. Tadej Pogacar's team, for example, have been splashing the cash on very expensive and very exotic carbon fibre and titanium disc brake rotors and full carbon fibre chainrings to try and reduce the weight on their bikes. I'm sure there are loads of other cool weight weenie tricks in the pro peloton as well, but that is the most obvious example. Very expensive, but if you want that marginal gain, that is one move to go for. Another thing the pros do, which you probably shouldn't do, is slam your stem. I know it looks pro and it looks cool, and it's fine for the pros to spend every day 35,000 kilometers a year riding their bikes, which is basically their office, but not so good for us mere mortals who ride a few hours a week. That's a big trend we still see, and the other one I see from time to time is riders on frames that are probably too small for them and need a good bike fit. The reason we see pros on frame sizes too small for them is likely to save some weight, but more than likely to get more aero. A smaller head tube, get lower at the front, and that's why you often see a very long stem and a seat set right back on the rails of the seat post. So that's something I don't recommend for normal riders. Get a bike fit, get in the right size bike, get a normal stem and the right setback, and you'll be fine. These pros can often embrace positions that wouldn't work for us at all. The Tour de France is getting faster and faster, and this has led to one really interesting tech trend. Riders using a skin suit, aero socks and aero helmets on every single stage. In the past, you might have seen such a setup for a flat stage or a sprint stage, but now we're seeing it all the time. So important are the marginal gains. I can't imagine how hot they must get in some of that kit. The long socks, the skin suit which is restrictive and uncomfortable, and the aero helmets as well. But for us normal riders, turning up to a Sunday club run in a skin suit, aero socks and an aero helmet probably isn't the best look or best move in the world. But let me know what you think by leaving a comment down below. Another small tech trend that probably isn't worth copying at home either is a move to a bigger size chainring for those riders on 2x. 53/39 used to be fairly standard, and outside of pro peloton, 52/36 and 50/34, so smaller chainsets have become popular. But in pro peloton, they're going bigger and bigger, and 54 and sometimes 56 outer chainrings are becoming more and more popular. That shows how fast and serious the Tour de France is getting, but probably best left to the pros. And there we go. Let me know which of these tech trends you think are fantastic and which are bonkers by leaving a comment down below. And if you want to see some other Tour de France tech trends, then watch the video right up here. And of course, don't forget to subscribe by hitting the button right here. But that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again very soon.